The 2020 election cycle is over. My channel's been dead for about 6 months. What exactly has been going on? Welcome to Molnar Musings, everybody. My name is John Molnar. I was a Libertarian candidate for Utah's 4th District Representative to the United States House for 2020. And we're going to cover today a little bit about what happened after the election, why my channel's been dead, and why we're bringing it back at this point. So to cover real quick, the channel used to be called Molnar 2020. That's what I ran it as when I was running for Congress in 2020. And I've switched it over to the name Molnar Musings. Now, the reason for that is I just like the way it sounds. Musing, it just means being able to think about different things. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk politics, religion, and a bunch of other randomness outside of the campaign. I'm not running for office again at this point. I have no intention of running again as of now. That's kind of why the channel's been dead in a bit, but we wanted to bring it back because I can't stop talking about this stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on. I got to stay involved to some extent. And even though I don't want to run for office again, I do want to keep discussing a lot of these things and making sure that some of these points that I was bringing out in my campaign get pushed out there along with others. So what exactly happened after the campaign is that shortly after, and like real shortly after, my wife and I had a baby. We had our kid about a week before Thanksgiving. So it was a really crazy time, especially with the election going on. And then with everything with COVID, it was really bullshit because the entire time COVID was going on, my wife was pregnant. She was a high risk pregnancy. This was our first kid. And so it was really hard because our state didn't allow for me as the husband to be able to accompany her on any of her appointments with her OBGYN. So that was fun, getting to sit out in the car in the middle of summer in about 100 degrees. So we took some time to just relax and enjoy ourselves with us and our kid, and just kind of spend some time as a family. And after that, we've been going through a lot of stuff, trying to reevaluate our lives after the campaign and everything, after the election was done, and trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do personally. Obviously, I didn't win. I lost to Burgess Owens. I wish him the best of luck in his seat in Congress. I actually did call him. I called Ben McAdams as well, who was the incumbent that the both of us ran against and was actually unseated. And I did congratulate both of them. I do wish both of them best of luck in their future endeavors. The way I see it, I know a lot of people take politics as, you get in there and that's the enemy and you got to take him out. Well, I tend to see it more as we're opponents. I mean, we disagree a lot on a lot of stuff, but I see it as opponents. And at the end of the day, we should be able to shake hands and say good game. That's just kind of the way that I want to proceed as I'm going through all this political journey myself. And that's the way I wanted to be as a candidate. So I tried to stick to that, and that's what I did. I mean, I was a martial artist growing up. I fought competitively, and at the end of every match, you always bow. And so just, kind of keeping that whole thing going, I just wanted to give them a call and congratulate them and for their job that they did and wish them the best of luck in their endeavors. Obviously, there's going to be stuff I disagree with them on. There's stuff that Burgess Owens is already doing and talking about that I don't quite agree with, but I still wish him the best of luck. I hope he does a good job as a representative for 4th District because that's what people need more than anything is good representation in Congress. Not for one side to beat out the other. People just need good representation no matter which party it comes from. So even though Burgess Owens is a Republican, Ben McAdams is a Democrat, I'm a Libertarian, I think we should all be able to wish each other the best of luck and fight competitively when we're in the moment, and at the end of it, be able to shake hands and say good game. All right, so outside of that, that's the politics side. Personal side, we've been going through a lot. There's been crazy stuff going on with COVID and everything. It's really freaked out me and my family because we've seen things like food shortages here all through last year. If you were watching me through my campaign, you probably saw me talk about how I started to really get into gardening during the campaign because I started getting concerned about how I was going to feed my wife and my kid. We can go to the grocery store and get food as long as we can, but once that runs out, what do we do then? My wife and I do stock up on food storage, water storage, cleaning supplies, hygienic items, things like that. That's kind of our nature, is just to be prepared for stuff in case of an emergency. But eventually, those wares run out. And we live in a condo in Utah, so we don't have much land to be able to produce a lot of our own food, and that's kind of what leads us into what's going on now, which is we're in the process of trying to sell our place here in Utah and move down to Florida, get a little bit more land for us to be able to stretch our legs with everything going on, and also for me to be able to grow more food. I do eventually want to scale it up from just providing enough food for me and my family to actually making it a business and starting my own small scale farm, more like a market garden style where I'm selling at like the farmers markets or some of the specialty produce and stuff off to some really upscale restaurants like the types I used to cook in down in San Diego. Because I didn't go to college, I went to culinary school. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you might not be aware of that. But yeah, I went to culinary school. I used to cook in a couple places in San Diego. I didn't work in it long. The pay was horrible. I love cooking. I love food. I love eating, especially. And I love entertaining people when I cook, having a party and hosting at my place. But the pay for a cook is just abysmal, especially in a place like San Diego where you've got your studio apartment in East County is $1,500 a month, and you got to pay $30 almost every day that you go to work because you have to use a parking garage in downtown San Diego. So it was a horrible situation on a financial part, but aside from that, I actually love the food industry. And while I was going through everything with COVID, I realized that a lot of the foods that I used to cook with actually have some pretty good profit margins if I just grew them myself instead of trying to cook with them. So in order to try and bring more varieties of food, some of the rare stuff, a little bit better nutrition to people, and do it at a local level that's grown organically and sustainably so that, everything can keep going, especially, I know climate change is a big concern for a lot of people. For me, I look at it more from a sustainability standpoint, and I want to grow food in a way that is sustainable as the population scales up, and in case things start to collapse on other ends like we saw with COVID. That was one of the big things for me that had me thinking that I should possibly look at, instead of just growing food for my family, actually trying to scale this up to some sort of business, because we saw a lot of food shortages, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that a lot of our farming operations in the United States are large scale. If you have an incident come up at one of those farms and it takes it out to where they have to shut down, or a meat packing plant shuts down, or anything along that line shuts down, that's a very large facility that feeds a lot of people. They shut down, we feel the effects. And so I wanted to try and get into farming, partly also so that if something like this happens, it's done at a smaller scale. So yeah, there might be the big guys who get shut down and they affect a whole bunch of people, but at least me being there can help feed a couple of the other people and pick up some of the slack for them. And then if I get shut down because of something like what happened last year comes up, it's not felt as broadly, because hopefully there is kind of that transition in farming where we get more people farming instead of so few on large scale. We get more on smaller scales. It makes it a little bit more adaptable. So that's the farming side of it. That's something that I want to get into personally as a career change a little bit. Aside from that, one of the big reasons is because of, I talk about this occasionally. I don't like to bring it up too much because I don't want it to be some sad sob story, but my wife does have lupus, and the cold does affect her quite a bit, and she got even more affected by it after having our kid. One of the things that her gyno was talking to us about during the pregnancy is that there was a potential that with lupus, she could end up having it become worse after the birth of the child, which the odds weren't always that great that it could happen, but it turned out that it did. It's been pretty unfortunate, but we just figure we'll go ahead, we'll move out to somewhere a little bit better climate. The best place we've ever been for her with lupus, to where she didn't have flare-ups and muscle spasms so intensely, was when we were out on our honeymoon in Waikiki out on Oahu. So we figured go for some place with a similar climate. California is out of the question because that's where I'm from, is San Diego, and California is a total disaster. I won't go back there. I left for good in 2017, and they've got a lot of work to do to get me to want to go back. I wish I could. I miss it every day. I'm a California boy. I love it out there. There's no place like home, and it kills me every day I can't go back. That's all I'm going to say on it. Hawaii, too expensive. Sorry, not happening. So Florida was really the kind of place that made the most sense for us in what our needs were and what we were looking for. Then as far as everything with Florida goes, that's pretty much it. We're just looking to make a little bit better situation for me and my family, take better care of my wife. I personally hate the snow anyways. I can't handle it. I pretty much hibernate in Utah for 9 months out of the year. So it'll be a good change for me as well on a mental level. I get pretty, cabin fever type deal where getting cooped up really starts to mess with me. I like to be outside in the sun, like nonstop. I enjoy the heat. That's what I like. It's good for my mental state. It's good for everything. Like, let's be honest. COVID, like a lot of what they found was the sun kills COVID, and that's what I like. So I'm gonna go someplace where it's more sunny, and what better place than the Sunshine State? So anyways, that's a bit of what's been going on with us. We've just been taking time to deal with the family situation, make sure my family's squared away, because obviously with everything going on with the last year, everything's been really hectic. And we'll dive more into that as we continue with these videos. But for now, that pretty much wraps it up. We're going to be bringing back the videos on this channel every day, hopefully Monday through Friday at about 4:20 in the afternoon is what we'll shoot for. And obviously hiccups and things will happen as we're getting going with everything. But that's what we'll be aiming for, and hopefully everything takes off well and we can get this move out of the way, because we're gonna have to pause a little bit for the move. But I will put a lot of that footage onto another channel. I've got a couple other ideas for channels of stuff that I'm actually into personally, because I'm quite frankly pretty sick of talking about politics. Now I know there's no way I'm ever going to be able to get out of politics completely. But now that the campaign's done, I want to start talking more about some of the things that I actually enjoy and some of what I actually am, and through those hobbies. So we're going to be starting up a couple other channels to take care of those. This will be where we can talk about politics, religion, or whatever other random shenanigans that I just feel like talking about that day. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this at 4:20, is just because, you know, that being typically considered like stoner hour, it just for me feels like it allows for me to be able to talk about pretty much like anything from politics to just some crazy off the wall stuff like um mm, I don't know, take your pick. We'll figure it out as we go. So anyways, stay tuned, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.